Welcome to Handi Quilter Watch and Learn. We're going to show you how to use a ruler to quilt around designs and then some great ideas for background fills today. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe for more great quilting content. Well, I'm Kim Sandberg and you are?
I'm Kristina Whitney.
We're both studio educators here at Handi Quilter and we love to quilt quilts. And we've got a really fun project here that we're working on. Bonnie Browning from AQS, American Quilting Society, we ran into her recently at a show, and she has a series of quilts that she put borders on, panels, and this panel really spoke to Kristina. She's got some fun ideas on how to quilt it. So Kristina, let's talk about what you're going to do today.
Okay, well, I'm going to introduce a ruler.
Awesome.
It's got two names actually.
Exactly.
The original one was called the Peace Out ruler, and it is now called the Baby Grand. Okay, so this is the Baby Grand piano, Baby Grand ruler. It's not really a piano, it's a ruler.
Shaped like a piano though.
Yes. It's really nice because it has this straight edge right here. It also has two different arcs.
I love it.
One of my favorite parts though is this little notch right here. And some people look at it and think, oh, something's broken. But that notch fits perfectly around our surefoot.
I love it.
And it is great to help us kind of control the machine as we're going around appliques. So this is something that I would use like on this quilt behind us to stitch around each of the appliques. It's kind of hard to do that free motion.
It is, and especially when you've got like tiny little, like the little moose antlers on the top of these little bears. It takes a lot of control to make the machine stitch exactly where you want it to, right?
Yes. So this ruler will give us a little bit more control.
Okay.
So let's pull that machine over here.
Okay.
And we're going to play with it. We've got this great center here.
Oh, I know. This flower here is so pretty.
And I'm using a monopoly thread from Superior Threads. And my bobbin is matching the thread, or no, it's a white thread.
Actually, I think it's a light green is what we chose because we figured it would blend well with what's on top in case if anything popped through.
And let's be bobbin thread is whatever Kim put in the machine.
And let's be honest, it's probably the thread that was just in there when I started doing stuff. Right? That's how we roll around here.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I want to trace these petals.
Okay.
And that's fairly close to that arc on the Baby Grand.
Look at that.
So I'm going to use that to give me some control as I go around. And if the arc's not perfect, I can shift the ruler. I do not have handy grip on this ruler.
Okay.
It allows me to slide it around as I want and need to.
Right. You can just slide to move it instead of having to lift it to reposition it, which when you have that handy grip on there, it kind of stays in place unless you pick it up and move it.
So we're just going to continue around. Did you come up with a good joke for me yet?
No, I'm just watching you quilt. I think this is very, it's just fun to see what you're coming up with here. I mean, I know that you're essentially just quilting around the design that's already there, but deciding what parts you want to quilt on, you know, and emphasize is part of that process, right? Remember that whatever parts you don't quilt, that's what your eye is drawn towards. So you kind of want to think about that. Do you want to make the flower poof? Do you want to make certain parts of it really puff up more? So you're going to choose to emphasize different parts of the design.
Yeah, but I'm just kind of outlining.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to end up back here in the center.
Yeah.
So I'm on the last section. I'm going to come in, and then I'm just going to kind of overstitch coming back out. So the least amount of movement that I have to do with the ruler, the better, so that I can try to get on the same line coming out.
Right.
But it's not always going to happen exactly like that.
But when you're using a thread like monopoly,
nobody will notice.
It hides. It hides those really easily.
Okay, I think I want to go out to the next layer.
Okay.
And it's got kind of this bracket design here. So I'm going to use this notch and watch how I'm going to do this. So I'm not going to push the machine with the ruler.
Okay.
I'm just going to have it stabilizing the machine.
Okay.
And, you know, sometimes you start going, you get momentum, and you maybe don't want to go that far. It'll just give me that extra little bit of control. And I'm just going to outline the design.
Now, using a ruler like this with the notch, that's really the only time we recommend moving the ruler while you're stitching.
Yes.
You always want to be careful doing this. So just a little note. But because that notch fits exactly around that surefoot, it's a nice, secure, snug, and so it's safe to do that.
Yes, and I do recommend, you know, practicing with rulers, being confident with rulers before you try to just jump in and do that. You want to keep it with the surefoot also. Don't try doing it with your closed toe foot.
Nope, nope. I know too, like a panel like this is a really great way to work on building the skill of stitching this way. You haven't
I already did that one.
That's okay. You haven't spent a lot of time piecing or anything on this design, and so a panel like this, it just lets you play, doesn't it?
It does.
And practice.
Yeah, and it's got so many different shapes that I can take those shapes and incorporate them into the background.
I love that. I love that.
So let me do. Let's see.
You're going to do one more row in the outline here
Yeah,
of that flower.
I'm going to show us how we can do both these and these together.
Okay, I'm excited to see this.
Do I want to do some fills in here?
I think you do.
I do.
I mean, those little curly Q things there, they just kind of are asking to be quilted, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which path I want to use though.
Now, is that when you want to use the little notch there in the baby ground for?
I think I'm going to.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to travel up here and then follow around that curve. And I'm going to do this one.
Okay. I feel like that's always part of the puzzle to solve when you start quilting. How am I going to do this without breaking my thread?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to backtrack right here, and I'm going to jump in and do this guy before I forget.
Okay, I like that.
And I could do as many different like fills and stuff in there. Okay, I'm going to go back and get this little swirl down here. And then I'm going to come over. Grab this little swirl. And come back out. And come around and get this guy.
That ruler, it just really stabilizes the machine as you're moving it, doesn't it? Especially for those smaller, little, more detailed areas.
Exactly.
It really makes a difference.
So one of my favorite things about this ruler is the fact that it does have that straight edge and the curves. So a lot of times when I'm doing designs, it allows me to easily shift back and forth between the straight and the curve without having to pull in different rulers over and over again.
I know, having something versatile like that is awesome, especially when you're doing fine little areas like this. Okay, so you went through and shown us kind of your idea here for this flower. What do you want to move on to next?
Well, let's bring the fabric back just a little bit so I can get some of this background up here.
Okay.
So not too far, just a few inches.
Roll it back just a little bit. And just a note,
good.
This quilt has been basted. It's basted all the way through, and we have it attached. So the top is no longer attached to a leader. So we can easily just go back and forth with it. Kristina's double Dutch, as she likes to call it. So that you can just fill in. All right, so what are you going to work on next?
I think I'm going to work over here.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe. We'll see where the quilt takes you.
Exactly. Okay. I'm going to start here. I like to take my inspiration from the fabric a lot of times. And this has just so much movement and flow, these swirls, these leaves. So I'm just going to play with that in the background.
Okay, so we're moving on to some background fills here. Taking your cue from what's already there.
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to start out just by tracing this first swirl.
Okay.
And now as I come around, I want to fill in this white. So I'm thinking, maybe I'll echo it.
I like that.
Maybe I'll add some little feathers onto it. And I'm just going to gradually build on to what's there.
I like that. I'm just quilting around that design that's already there.
Just add a little swirl in there, maybe a little point. Add another swirl. And then let's fill in this section here.
Okay.
So echoing is a great way to fill stuff in.
Especially when you have a small space like that.
Yeah. And I'm going to come out just tracing what's already on the fabric, getting this leaf in here. I'm going to trace the stem and the vines, or veins, I mean.
They could be vines.
Let's do the same thing with this leaf here. So for that part, I'm pretty much just copying the fabric.
Yeah.
But now I've got the negative space, so let's add some more swirls.
Okay.
Maybe incorporate some of the leaves or feather shapes. What are some other fun shapes I want to put in
There's
here?
kind of almost like a dahlia or like a scale.
Yeah,
a
like
clamshell
a clamshell almost.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are some fun ones you can play with.
So there's a little bit of clamshell there.
Oh, cool.
Again, echoing is a great tip. Let's add on to that. So I'm turning that echo into a stem. And then I can do a little echo around those feathers.
Make them pop out a little more.
Yep, maybe add a little S curve. And then I'm going to trace this next leaf. And I really like that the vein of this leaf goes all the way to the top because I can travel out of the top.
Oh, that's nice.
And not have to backtrack.
Yeah.
Okay, let's add in, oh, we've got kind of some circle shapes here.
Yeah,
Let's
we
add
do.
some circles in here.
Okay.
So I'm just doing like a Mod Podge of shapes.
I think that's so fun to do for a background though, especially on a quilt like this. That's just, there's nothing, the design is not symmetrical. It's very organic and free filling. And so it's fun to just essentially echo that in the quilting design too. Those quilting designs are looking so cool. I like how you're echoing that. You can just barely see that little curl up there at the top. Sharing that design. And this is when Kristina shows us how much she likes feathers.
They have their time and their place.
They do. I think they're perfect. I think they're perfect for this quilt.
And I'm going to sneak back out. I'm going to add a little spike there to fill in that space. Maybe do another one here.
That's a really good design there. You just need to fill in a space, right? Little curvy spike.
Travel down here, get in this So I'm just kind of all over the place. I'm going to spiral inside that guy. Get this swirl in. And I did that spiral there. I'm just going to fill this with some circles in here.
Okay.
Just kind of accentuate that circle that's already there.
A little pebbling.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
I'm crossing over. So yes, I know I'm crossing lines, but nobody's going to know, right?
No.
Until you watch the video. Okay, let's see. I want to come out. I want to aim over to this direction. So I'm just going to jump back onto this existing spine and jump down. I'm going to echo it.
Yeah, I want to see how you're going to incorporate those little spots of color out there. Okay, so you're going to do a feather on this side.
So I'm going to do not like my traditional feather, but more of trying to mimic the shape of those leaves that were out there.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of echoing the design. Not exactly copying it, but using it more for inspiration.
Yep.
Oh, that's fun. Doing like a little figure eight around those.
Okay, then they're kind of just back to the almost like just a leaf shape.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to echo, filling in all of this white space. So this is just a background fill. I'm not doing any like micro quilting on it or anything.
No.
It's just filling in all of that space.
Filling it in with a fun texture that just kind of mimics the look and feel of what you've got going on there without exactly copying it. I think it's gorgeous. It's so much fun.
So I've got lots of playing to do.
You do. You definitely do.
I could also, if I have a big open space, let's see.
Got some space up here.
Okay, let's bring the machine back towards me just a
You mean
little
the
bit
quilt?
more.
The
Yeah,
quilt's a little bit more towards you?
the quilt would be helpful, not the machine. I just,
Well, we'll move the machine
yeah,
too.
that's good there.
Is that good?
Yep, I just didn't want to.
Okay.
There's nothing worse than stitching free motion and hitting your bar and having your free motion
Yeah.
get jerked around.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to fill in this space and travel over, and then I want to put like a flower shape in here to kind of mimic like one of the medallion shapes over here. Okay, so let's just fill this in here. Okay, traveling over. Here we go. We're going to do this little, woo, I went kind of crazy there. Nothing new. So I'm going to come out, and now I want to do,
I'm going to create a flower there in the negative space.
So this is a version of ghost quilting, where I take the shape that I've already got in the fabric or the piecing and just mimic it in the quilting.
Oh, I like that, how you're doing that layer. It's like that flower that you started with, where the leaves kind of layered on top of each other. Very cool.
And one really nice thing about this is it covers that space quickly.
Yeah, it does. It looks so good there.
So anything else you want me to play with?
I don't know. I feel like we could spend all day on this. Especially, I feel like the more I look at it, the more I see. I don't know. Should I throw a dare out there?
Uh-oh, yeah.
Can you quilt a fish in there?
Wait, do we have any fish on the fabric?
No, but this right here reminds me of fish scales. Like, I keep thinking of that. Or maybe like a butterfly. That's like a shape like that one right there. That looks like a spider.
I think the butterfly might be the most appropriate.
Let's do the butterfly.
Okay, let's.
So maybe you can quilt like a little butterfly
here?
like up here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Kind
go
of fun.
here.
This is Stump Kristina. See what she can quilt. Very cute. I should have made you quilt the fish.
Butterfly's a little easier.
Yeah, it is. So come down and connect that. Okay, so how are you going to fill in that space between the butterfly and the flower there? I want to see how you're going to fill that space in.
Lots of echoing and traveling in the ditch is always a good option here too. I'm going to do some pebbles to kind of break up my straight lines.
Okay.
And that will help to show off the flower
and the butterfly.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna
okay, I like that.
pebble around the flower. So when I first started doing some of these background fills, I really wanted to stick with one shape. And so do that one shape till you get super confident with it.
Absolutely.
And then gradually build on that, adding a couple more shapes. And a lot of times when I'm quilting, I'll give myself like maybe 4 shapes, 4 or 5 shapes, and I have to stick to those 5 shapes. So it doesn't get super overwhelming. Like some of this can get kind of busy, but I think that that goes with the quilt.
I agree.
So sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. But yeah, adding different motifs and just using those echo lines, the travel lines, overstitching to get from place to place. Those are my tips and tricks
for doing all those great background fills. That's awesome. Okay, well, why don't we clip this thread here?
Okay.
And then we can take a little bit of a closer look here at what you've done. I think it looks so great. I'm excited to see you finish this all the way, which Kristina will have to sneak back in here and back into the filming studio and do a little bit more quilting down the road. So yeah, this quilting is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. All these shapes that you've put in here. So fantastic. Thanks for all the great tips. So some really great ideas today. Number 1, don't be afraid to use a ruler that can help you kind of guide. And don't be afraid to use a ruler either to quilt around those shapes when you're quilting a panel. Sometimes you want a little more control. You want to keep that shape consistent. That's what rulers are really great for. And then when you get out here into the negative space, just the fun, just have fun. Just have fun. I like that smile. I like that smile. All right, well, thanks for joining us today. Be sure to give us a subscribe and like for more great ideas on how to finish your quilts, and have fun quilting.